Are you on?
I am on now, Daddy.
Okay, we're live.
Equal fuck-ups. You fucked up the SD card, I fucked up the mic.
Live and direct from the backseat of Griffin's car.
That's really fake taxi.
Right.
Yeah.
God. Start your line again.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever this podcast may find you. Take two. Are we going to call this the Backseat?
The Backseat podcast.
The Backseat Exhibition of Speed podcast.
EOS taking it in the back. Anyways,
Oh,
continue.
yikes. Anyways, I thought it would be a fun idea to have like candid conversations about either the car that we just drove. We have this larger series that we're working on right now where we're driving all the greatest cars that happen to have the greatest naturally aspirated engines, everything from the humble Honda Beat all the way up to fire-breathing V12s. And so today was Honda Beat Shoot Day. The reason why we're in the back of one of our camera guys' all-road, funny enough, both the camera guys that are working with us now have B8 all-roads.
Yep.
Anyways, so we are in transit now back from Alpine Loop down to where the owner of the car lives because his car wouldn't turn on but part way into our shoot. And so now it's on a AAA flatbed and
so we got to drive it up to the top. We did kind of our first little filming bits, got a tiny bit of drive time in the car, and then we were setting up to do our first set of flybys and drone shots and things. So I had taken the car down from the top and found a location to park so that I could be ready to flip around whenever cameras are rolling. And
There's a goat.
there's a goat? Oh yes, it's
yeah,
right
guys,
there.
I've been here the whole
Holy shit.
time.
Nice. Ha ha, very funny. So right as I pulled off to flip around to go back towards the camera, the car was just off. And it happened kind of right as I pulled off the road. Come to find out, for some reason, the car has power, has starter, but the ignition decided to go off. So like the instrument cluster doesn't light up, doesn't get spark or fuel.
Yeah.
And so after about a half hour of diagnosing fuses and everything, whatever it is, we couldn't figure it out. So that's why we're now in transit to take it back to the owner's house.
So, it's funny because it's currently 1:30 in the afternoon.
Yep.
I haven't driven a single car today.
I know.
Justin and our other shooter, Fernando, who came from up north, picked me up in Fernando's all road.
Yep.
We drove down to the Alpine area, met up with the owner of the Honda Beat.
Yep.
We figured that Justin was going to test some experimental on-camera setups. And then we drove up to Alpine Loop. We got our exterior beauty. We got some interior beauty. We got our opening lines done. And we just wanted to get some like flybys and some like drone shots just to kind of like keep the ball rolling. And now here we are. So it's kind of an odd feeling, especially on my behalf, that normally I drive something first thing.
Well, and I have some opinions I can give on the Honda Beat because honestly it's, so I've driven right-hand drive 998cc Mini was the first right-hand drive car I ever drove.
Yep.
Driven that, driven the Reliant Robin, driven a Suzuki Cappuccino. I've driven a fair few of them now. That probably drives better than any of them. As far as basic, it's planted. It doesn't feel rough or badly put together. It actually feels very
You never really
solid.
got like into it. The kind of driving we were just doing transit driving.
Yeah.
The thing about transit driving 660cc 68 horsepower car, regardless of how light it is, you're still working for it, especially like climbing up hills and stuff.
Yep.
You get into it, but the kind of getting into it that we did like with Cappuccino, different like levels of send, for lack of a better phrase.
But here's the thing. In transit driving the Cappuccino, it felt less put together than that. And maybe that's just
I don't
time.
know if I agree.
Maybe. But that felt easier to put into gear, easier to handle. Like all of the functions of the car, including the interior, at least to me, from driving the bit that I did, felt a little bit better. And that may not be the car's fault. That may be just time. And maybe that Cappuccino has had, I mean, it's a turbocharged car versus not. It might have had a little more fun in its day.
Well, there's also just the smoothness and the simplicity of not having a turbo.
Yeah.
And you're having, because the Cappuccino was a 4-cylinder.
Yes.
So you're going from that to a 3-cylinder inline engine that revs way higher. Actually, no, not way higher.
They're about the same.
They were actually similar, which is actually points towards the Cappuccino for being a turbo car that revs to 9,000. No, but it is a much smoother power band. I thought the Cappuccino was really well put together and really, I enjoyed driving that just also cruising in transit, because I cruised in transit from in Morgan up to into East Canyon with the windows down, just kind of chilling, because I think we caught traffic.
Yeah, and to be clear, the Cappuccino is an extremely close second. They are very related as far as how put
I would
together
love
they both
to, join the group of people that have managed to put together films of all three,
Yes.
what they call the ABC cars, the AutoZam AZ1,
Yep.
Honda Beat, and Suzuki Cappuccino. Would be really cool to put all those together. Once this car gets put back together, we do it for this naturally aspirated project. If
Yeah.
something comes down the road, there's a bug on the window.
Get in my car.
There's a
Technical
Our
difficulty.
crazy taxi's really crazy today.
Sorry.
no,
Go
all
ahead.
good. I saw some photos from Cars and Coffee yesterday.
Yeah.
I think the one that was happening in Lehigh
It's in Sandy.
or was in Sandy.
Sandy, okay.
The one that someone brought a red AutoZam AZ1.
Yep.
So now there's all three in Utah, which is actually really cool.
Because the AutoZam is by far the rarest out of the three.
Well, it's the funkiest because it's a mid-engine with gull-wing doors.
Yeah.
And it's more or less a mid-engine Cappuccino. 'Cause
Yep.
I think that's also turbocharged.
Yeah,
Um,
from what I know, AutoZam is funny because it's one of Mazda's failed attempts in the late 80s, early 90s to create a separate brand.
Yeah, like Unos.
Yep, like Unos, because they tried to form both the little micro sport brand with the AutoZam and at the same time the Unos stuff for a luxury counterpart.
Yeah.
Basically tried to do the same thing Toyota was doing with Lexus, more or less.
Yeah.
And anyways, but I would say that thing is mainly just due to the difference in the car's eras they were put together. Way easier to drive than the Mini, and that's no duh. The Mini was designed in the late 50s.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
way better
Steering
than,
is really like heavy
Yes.
in the Mini. Like considering how light of a car and how small it is, it actually surprisingly heavy steering.
feels like the
Informative, but
British dump molasses into the steering linkage.
yeah, no kidding.
But I am always surprised when I get into some of these K cars because that's not really my world. I enjoy them, but they're not something that I personally am driven to buy.
No.
How nice they actually are.
Yeah.
They do cruise better than you would expect because you might read things online of like, oh, these are just city cars, and they are. But
They're best enjoyed, I think, in an urban runabout environment for sure, because that's also what they were designed to do. They were designed to drive around young professionals.
Yeah.
Like especially if you look at the Honda City.
Yep.
Like tiny little car, and then you had like your little like moped thing that like came out of the trunk,
Your suitcase bike.
and then that's your what you call the final mile.
Yep.
You know, in transport.
Park in the car park, get out the bike, go to the office.
Ride the bike into the office.
Yep. And so I just always find them enjoyable because again, since there's something that I'm not necessarily drawn to, the fact that they are as good as they are, despite what some popular opinion might say, it is always a nice, refreshing surprise to me. It's like a palate cleanser.
Oh yeah, the Honda Beat is a phenomenal palate cleanser. It's one of those cars that you truly can enjoy it up to and just barely past the speed limit. And that's one of those things where so many modern cars, not even just supercars, but modern sports cars, modern daily cars, you're getting nothing from the car until you're, doubling or more the speed limit, and you're in like so much more danger. But like the information that the car gives you, the amount of work and effort they have to put into it to go up a squiggly road with altitude, it makes you work for it. And like you were, I don't know, genuinely giving it like at least 5/10, and you were, I don't know, 5 over the speed limit.
Yeah, barely, if that.
Yeah.
And it is enjoyable. Modern cars have gotten very refined, which is good, but
Which is great.
refinement irons out flaws. And sometimes I think we as humans love flaws because not only do they give it character, but we're flawed. So we identify with
Right.
it.
I
We,
agree.
we identify with a car that like, we hate it because it's a piece of shit, but my God, it's my piece of shit. I love it.
Right.
It's got all the flaws and the foibles that I know.
Yeah.
And I know that like to close this door, I have to lift up slightly and shut it. Like, so it humanizes it.
Right.
Modern cars, part of our problem is that since we've removed so many of those, we've gotten so good at manufacturing an internal combustion car these days. We have to put in the crackles, the bangs, the pops, the excitement.
Yeah.
We literally have to design crackle
Insert
tunes.
Focus RS, Jaguar SVR, modified E9335i here.
Exactly. And so when you get into something like this, that's all of those things naturally.
Yeah.
That like has that noise just right here. None of it's piped in, artificial, whatever you want to say.
It's funny how like
It
a
is fun.
GR86 and like the Civic Type R almost sound the same because like their
Yeah.
audio engineering that they did, like the design came from the same people.
Yep.
Different companies, different types of engines, different drivetrain layouts. They have a very similar like, it's not even a rasp. It's just like this one like harmonious frequency that like that's fake. Like I can already tell.
Yeah, and I mean, it is weird because we're almost, I'm not going to say a crossover, but we're at a point where some vehicles, like I'm just going to mention the Ioniq 5N is taking that to a new level because it's an EV, and then they added in all those things, and from every report actually did very well with it.
Everyone who's driven it says it's a hoot, and it's a riot, and it's a proper fun EV, like no asterisk.
Which I think we were all not expecting. So we're at that point where we're starting to have to add those things back in because there's no, besides basically that and a couple others, EVs that are actually exciting in any way because it takes the remaining flaws, namely the internal combustion engine, completely out.
Right.
So to go back to something like these, I think that the further we go into the new future, whatever the new future completely holds, the more that something like this is going to be important because it is a standard in this is car, this does car thing, this does car thing well. And that's it. This has a few frills, it has AC and a radio, but that's most of your accessories.
What
There's
else do you
nothing
need?
else.
What else, like...
No, that's where any car company, and I would say this for anyone designing like a modern EV or hybrid or whatever, you need to start with the basics instead of just all the extra frills and gadgets and shit. That's only great up to a point.
Yeah.
Those things are only great if they function well. The second they don't, they're useless pieces of dead weight. Ignore that. That's the other GoPro turning off because we didn't turn it on. And so I would, you know what? I would almost like urge anyone that is looking into getting into like a car design to go drive something like this Beat, to feel this is how a car should communicate and drive, because it's not a wild sports car where it has an extra of
But
that.
the thing is it hot? It's hot.
It's probably hot.
It
That's
is.
hot.
It is.
Might.
Well, our audio is still recording, so
Yeah, we can just keep going.
I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. Anyways, but I think in keeping on the palate cleanser thing, you just need to know what this feels
The
like.
unfortunate thing, though, is it's not car designers' fault that cars are the way they are.
No, it's not.
It's bureaucratic walls that they have to jump over, and this thing has to be safe for this reason, or this interest group wanted the car to be have more space, have more leather, have more padding,
I was gonna say,
have
popular opinion.
I like my cars to be quieter. Like, it's the survey that when the automakers come out with the survey, it's how their intended audience, and the car makers only care about the first people buying their car. They don't give a shit about the second owner or third owner. But like, it's those people that are giving them information that's helping fuel the cars that are coming out now.
Yeah.
And the rest of us that are maybe second or third owners of cars are like, what the fuck? Like, I don't like this.
Well, and especially here in the States. Here in the States, like, we kind of started the people carrier SUV crossover trend, and it just permeated even the rest of the world. Not nearly as bad, but it translated everywhere else to where popular opinion of the average person is, I want my car to be kind of compromised on all scales. It's not good at being a car, it's not efficient, but my God, it has a little bit of extra space and 2 inches of extra ground clearance. Oh my God, thank God. No, it's not actually good for anybody. It's just you're finding the lowest common denominator
Right.
of all of those.
But and companies across the board, are doing that, and like the music industry does that with, with a lot of popular music, and that's kind of permeated all aspects of like our lives and our cultures. Finding the lowest common denominator.
Yep.
Make something that as many people are going to find this appealing.
Yep.
Let's
see if we can turn this back on at all.
Maybe this is going to be an audio-only podcast episode.
Yeah, cameras. Wow, it actually tells you.
Well,
after.
if you touched it, Justin, you could feel that it was really fucking hot.
No, I know, but most of the time, the older ones don't tell you.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but no, it's sad when you have an issue like this, because now we have to reschedule.
And we already have like a jam-packed schedule, like enough. Like we have we have a half dozen shoot dates that are on calendar right now.
Yep.
Taking us into August.
And we still have a few to do after that.
Yeah, we're gonna have a meeting or two.
We're gonna have to figure out what's next, because
Yeah.
we don't know when this car's gonna be back, and that's not a fault of the owner. It's whatever. It's finding out what's wrong.
It's a weird diagnostic issue.
And then after finding out what's wrong, ordering parts from Japan.
Well, his dad's in Japan right now,
So that's helpful.
and he's coming soon. I almost wonder if he should just like I don't know. I mean, our timeline and his timeline are going to be different because our timeline is fairly selfish in nature. I do wonder if he could like take it to somebody and like just have it quickly diagnosed, be like, hey, this is your issue.
What I asked if it's possible is they're like, well, hey, if your dad's in Japan, he probably has great resources to ask. This is what's going on.
Maybe.
Give us somewhere to start.
Yeah, but you're still diagnosing something from thousands of miles away.
Yeah, but it
You
might
know.
give him a starting point to look for himself, and then if not,
Yeah.
there are some local
Yeah.
JDM people in the valley that are pretty good.
Yeah.
So he's got options, and then we'll get it. Excuse me. We'll get it back on the schedule and get it rolling.
Yeah.
Just we've dealt with this quite a lot, and virtually none of them have ever been something that we've done. We've been very good at sussing out problems
For other people.
for other people.
Yeah, for other people.
Which then become a problem for us when we have to shoot the car again.
Yeah, like, you know, that one time we were stranded on the hillside in East Canyon with a gated Ferrari.
Yep. Or that one time the Roscion broke down on the way out of its shoot,
Or the other time with the gated Ferrari that lost all its coolant. Or the one time with the gated Ferrari that the wheel almost came off.
it's almost like gated Ferraris are a common
I know.
denominator.
Huh,
Anyways,
weird.
yeah, so
Well, we've probably been doing this for long enough, especially if this is going to be an audio-only version.
yep.
But we have a YouTube channel for the podcast. We have a second channel now, so
Yep.
that's cool. This episode will maybe have video aspects to it. I also might just say fuck it and just do an audio only.
Yep.
But everything else going forward, I'm going to remember to put a card in,
Yes.
and you're going to remember to turn your mic on, and then we will have a video podcast, maybe from the backseat of a camera assistance all road, or maybe from the front seat of the Sequoia, which is also not with us right now. But yeah, I don't know where to go from here. You want to round us out?
Basically, like, subscribe, follow us however you feel is best. That is totally up to you. We appreciate anything and everything. So take care. We'll do this again probably after each shoot.
We're going to do these after every shoot, so the podcast won't be as like on time as far as like, you know, weekly Monday morning at 9 a.m. You're not going to have that thing to look forward to. But we're going to take the entire year to shoot this project on video. When that comes out, those will be regimented at whatever time we decide to do that. And but these little updates are kind of just sprinkling across the calendar, which also lets you know that, hey, we're still alive.
Yep.
We're still active. We're doing things, just trying to make it all work. So until next time, I've been Gavin.
And I've been Justin.
That's been Griffin.
Yup.
And this has been the Exhibition of Speed podcast.
Bye.